Here we are live at this forum for judicial candidates here in Brooklyn. Let's hope and pray it works. They're not going to be too friendly to this probably, so I'm going to keep it low key. If it turns out nobody sits here, I'll put it over there. Here you can see it's our friendly judges. If anybody knows who the people are, please put it in the chat. Everybody's giggling, as you can tell. I have to figure out a system here, maybe.
Black, you don't have.
I'm gonna talk right into the mic, maybe. If nobody sits there, then maybe I can put it right there. Let's see if I can put it. This is a look around the room. That is a tiny space for this. It's 6 o'clock. It hasn't started yet, as usual.
Hey, how you doing?
Yep, there we go, 6:04. You can't expect promptness from the judge system. There they are, brooklyndems.com. So I guess they're a commercial entity.
I'm trying to figure out. I can't do it because I'm
Well, we can see right away there's no men, that's for sure. So far, there's one guy with a suit over there, but who knows? Everybody's got something. If you have comments, put them in. I don't know how long my arm will last. I should have brought some type of device to hold it up. Chairs are a little troubling. But this is how you feel in
All
the
right,
system.
apologies for the delay, everyone. We do
They're
have
delayed
another
as
event
usual.
going on at the same time as this one, so we are just gonna wait a few more minutes. We're gonna probably give it until 6:10, 6:15 latest to get started. So again, apologies for
This
the
is how-
delay, but we do have some snacks in the back, so please help yourself to snacks before we get started, and waters as well.
If the gates and the bars make you feel like you're in jail, well, welcome to Brooklyn. And they're starting 15 minutes late.
I was out of the system for about 2 years, but I was judge out of staff before that, I retired. Yeah, I was working on affairs here in August for 2 years, and then I came back into the system.
Well, the chit chat amongst the judges. I don't know if we're supposed to hear that. The nominees, or whatever they're called. I don't know why they go through this process since the whole thing is decided by the party boss. But I guess there has to be a pretense of democracy here. So. Or maybe not. Maybe we don't have to have that. You put in the comments what you think. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but they're chit-chatting. We're not going to be able to speak probably during the event, so that's all we can do is consume as you are indoctrinated to consume constantly.
My judge, because when we were ADA accessible courtroom, she was on vacation, and we used it for work, 77. Yeah. They're really nice, they're all teched up. Yeah, everything's brand new. They're very like,
There'll probably be lots of people, or maybe nobody in the reserved seats. Who knows? If there are, then I'll have to start holding it higher and lose my.
says occupancy. Yeah. When I was driving, I might read the signs that miss the exit. I can see everybody like that, so I can't read signs. And also LED lights in information, say, yeah, the line cut, they put the line. My sister into it, it's like orange that you drop over the visor, and that visualizes those.
Okay, so we should at least go over the names because we didn't get any names from anywhere. If you go, it doesn't look like you can zoom in on this thing, but from here I can see Felix, Nunziat, Burrito, Chen, Locasio, Purvis, Liebman. We saw her on the way in, and the last one has no name. Maybe there's no person there. And Pritchett over there. So those are the names. I guess they don't hide the names on the actual event day, but there was nothing in the listing or the invitation that said any names. Seats. I would sit up front, but they have all, if you can see, all the seats are reserved up front. I guess for the important people that are coming. And this is just like normal, hurry up and wait. I guess a good amount of party operatives are here. That's great. I think I recognize some, but they'll probably be offended if I video them. Who knows? Oh, there he is. Going into the... If anybody knows any of these characters, please put in the chat. Oh, here's another party operative. I don't know anybody really, but I barely know some. Are these reserved? This is not reserved, right?
No, you're good.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
Like how you can sit in the reserve, see how?
Oh, that means somebody's important.
What's up?
Because I don't think
I'll probably get kicked out of here from this seat. I asked politely. See, this is the system here. They're closing in on us here. They're closing in. It's only 2 seats between us and reserved.
It's an old style gallery. It used to be on my
Oh my God. This is true party operatives. There they are chit-chatting back there. Okay, let's do a time check. Now 15 minutes into it. It's now 6:17. They still haven't started. Oh, there must be some. This is not unusual. Everything operates on whatever time. The room is tiny. That's the...
All right, everybody, we're about to start.
Wow, finally.
Wow, I got quiet real quick.
Oh, here come some of the important people.
Don't worry about it. It's a good thing.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being out here tonight. We appreciate your presence. We also want to give thanks to many of the candidates for coming out here on this night. Tonight we're going to learn a lot about them, and it's going to be a great night, fun night, definitely. My name is Vladimir Edward. I will be your host for tonight. And also my co-host Jackie Painter, she's also will be here to let you wonderful people know how we're going to get started and how we're going to do everything. So first thing I want to do is I want to welcome and acknowledge some key attendees, definitely around here. And first and foremost, I would like to have the OG Triple OG himself, Mr. Henry, come up here and present himself and talk to you wonderful people. Please give a big hand and a round of applause.
There we get a giant speech.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to be brief. I am Henry Butler, the Vice Chair of the Kings County Democratic Party, here giving remarks on it. For our chair, Honorable Rodney Bishop Ermeline, who is the chair of the party, district leader in the 40 seconds to cover. So I cover the 56th district, which is Bed-Stuy and North Crown Heights. So welcome to the 56th district. Bedford-Stuyvesant, welcome everyone. I'm just happy to see you here this evening for this important process. As we have learned over the past several years, the courts, the judicial branch, is a very powerful branch within the United States government. And as a Democrat, so this is a Democratic forum, we are going to be depending on the judicial branch on the federal level to keep a certain person in check. Okay? We all know what I'm talking about. So it's very important for you to know who these candidates are.
This is
because
just typical.
all Supreme Court justices just didn't start as Supreme Court justices. They started on a local level. They started in the civil court on a local level, where it was on the county-wide, Brooklyn-wide, statewide, right? So people sitting up here, they may be starting and applying for civil court, but then they can advance. So it's important that we make sure that we are putting people on the bench who have our values, the values of Brooklyn, the values of Kings County. Okay, so with that being said, I thank you all again for coming out, and let's have a wonderful, productive evening.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. We appreciate that. And exactly what he just said, this is a very important process, so it's good that you're all here tonight. This is exactly what democracy is, and making sure that we have the right people to represent our communities. Because remember, judges are very important. We cannot bypass that whole process. So again, thank you all for being here. Now I'm going to start off by naming the candidates. What they're going to do is they're going to just give you a brief explanation to introduce themselves and what they stand for. We're going to give them a minute. I would love to hear you for 30 minutes to an hour, but we're going to give them a minute. Got you. But before we're going to do that, I want to acknowledge the leaders and the committee members that are here tonight. First off, District Leader Tony Coe. Everybody, please. All right. District Leader Arlene. I love her. She's great. She's amazing. We had District Leader Shaquana Boykin. She stepped out. But give it up for Shaquana. If she can hear us.
He's not here.
All right, District Leader Felix Abalos, looking sharp tonight as well.
This is a problem.
Of course, how can we forget Mr. Boomer, District Leader? Give it up. Loudest applause that you have for District Leader Mike Boomer. And last but not least, Jackie Painter. That's right, give it up, Jackie Painter. She's outside handling work, but she's here.
He's not here.
I gotta say, y'all are the greatest crowd ever. You know how to clap, you know how to be quiet. You're perfect. So, the first candidate I want to introduce is, let me see, are we gonna go in order? Celeste Felix. Celeste Felix, if you would please come out here and also give us a brief introduction of yourself and what you stand for. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a hand for Celeste Felix.
Good evening, everyone. I'd first like to thank the district leaders for inviting me to this forum.
What about the people?
For giving all of us the opportunity for you to get to know us. I thank you all in the audience for coming out on a Sunday evening in February, embracing the cold. Thank you. A little bit about myself. My name is Celeste Felix, and I am a candidate for the civil court. A little bit about myself. I am the child of immigrants. I myself immigrated to this country from Grenada, the West Indies, when I was a young child. I am a product of the New York City public school system. I graduated from Clara Barton High School. I received my bachelor's degree from John Jay College of Criminal Justice and my law degree from St. John's University. I started my career as an attorney for the Administration for Children's Services, better known as ACS. Subsequent to that, I became a court attorney in family court, dealing with cases of child abuse and neglect, custody and visitation, child support, and juvenile delinquency matters. I was also a court attorney in the civil court, dealing with commercial landlord-tenant cases, no-fault cases, and consumer debt matters. In my current title as a principal law clerk, I work with a Supreme Court justice in the Supreme Civil Court, and we deal with the gamut. Everything that you can imagine, from labor law to personal injury. So for these 18 years that I've been in the legal system, I have learned working with and working before judges on the responsibility of what it is to be a judge. My purpose is service. It has always been of service, and I want to continue that as a judge. And so I am excited to be here, and I am eager to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
That resume just proves they're part of the machine. They have to be part of the machine to be done.
Now, everybody, I want to announce here, Teresa Nuccio. Please give a big round of applause for Teresa Nuccio.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming here tonight to meet us, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the district leaders for putting this together. My name is Teresa Nuccio. I'm currently a principal law clerk in the Supreme Court. I've been a court attorney in both Supreme and Civil Court here in Kings County and in Richmond County. Before that, I was in private practice representing injured plaintiffs and doing some other generalized practice. I volunteered my time, even when I was not in the court system, as a small claims court arbitrator. For 2 years, in between my service as a principal law clerk, I served in a quasi-judicial capacity as a special education hearing officer for the city of New York. For those of you who may not be familiar with that, it's in the news very recently about the drastic changes to the education law that are preventing children in private schools who need special education services from getting those services. And I decided approximately 200 cases which either granted funding for those such services or for tuition for children who could not be educated in the public school system. So I have judicial experience. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I would love to serve the people of Brooklyn.
She's getting the cut. She's getting the cut symbol.
Wow, 200 cases. I wonder how you sleep. That's a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for Marisa Marino.
I want to thank the district leaders for inviting us and everyone for coming out tonight. My name is Marisa Aravito. I am currently working as a court attorney in Supreme Court. I am running for civil court, Kings County, obviously. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I still reside in Brooklyn with my 2 children. I went to St. Francis College in downtown Brooklyn and then New York Law School. I started my career in civil litigation, so I have about 20 years plus of civil litigation representing people mainly in Brooklyn in all types of civil matters. And I've been a court attorney for approximately 3 years for 2 Supreme Court judges in the civil term, both judges handling pre-trial parts, which involve all types of cases, but because it's pre-trial, we try to bring them to resolutions. So I have conference cases, try to bring the best resolution for all parties involved. And my experience representing the people of Brooklyn as an attorney and serving the people of Brooklyn as a court attorney.
This guy's going to give the cut symbol.
Made me qualified to be a civil court judge. Thank you.
Wow, years of experience. Check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Judicial.
It's just turning into American's Idol or
Good
something.
evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out to give us an opportunity to introduce ourselves. I want to thank all the district leaders for opening up this forum for us. My name is Janice Chen. I am a court attorney in Brooklyn Supreme Court. I have been there for now 21 years. And I specialize in what's called mainly adult guardianships, but I have had civil litigation experience in what's called the civil discovery part, where we try to get the parties who make motions on discovery, which is the exchange of documents and information, to come to an agreement. But in that vein, I have also seen cases where there are many vulnerable people, right? Article 81 guardianships involves somebody who maybe lost the capacity to make decisions for themselves. So while the court is there to be a neutral forum for the parties, the court is also there to watch out for somebody who maybe is not able to make decisions for themselves. I've spent almost 20 years relating to helping people, understanding people who are in this vulnerable position. In that way, I am also running for civil court judge in Brooklyn Supreme Court. Thank you.
Wow, 20 years of service. We appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. If you're not getting tired, put your hands together for Linda Ocasio.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the process and the transparency. I thank the district leaders for having me and having this forum. I've been practicing for over 26 years. I started out as a solo practitioner and then was also an ACS trial attorney.
Oh my
I
God.
then had my own practice for 15, 16 years as I raised my family so that I can enjoy that flexibility. 10 years ago, I became a court attorney and have been a court attorney since to 3 Kings County elected judges. In that time, I spent the first 3 years in the People's Court, which is the very court that we're talking about now, and had the pleasure of working in many different parts in that capacity, including the high-volume Kings County consumer debt part. Thereafter, I worked in both Kings County and Richmond Supreme, again as a court attorney, and more recently for Surrogate Montalbano in Surrogate's Court. And as you can imagine, we deal with a lot of pro se, vulnerable people at the hardest times in their lives. I also am a referee by designation, which means I now preside over my own inventory of cases as well. Thank you.
I want us to also acknowledge District Leader Nancy Tong, who just walked in. Everybody please give a hand for Nancy Tong.
Oh my God.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Janice Purvis. Give your hands, clap your hands together, everybody.
Hello, my name is Janice Purvis. Thank you for everyone traveling. I'm glad to be here to tell you a little bit about my experience. I have 2 decades of experience in Kings County Supreme Court. I am a court attorney referee, which is quasi-judicial. Essentially,
Oh my
I'm
God.
considered the Jack or Jill of all trades. I work for the law department, but instead of working for one particular judge, I work for various judges. And sometimes I work for several judges at one time. I confer with judges, I research, write decisions for various judges. I also conduct conferences where I resolve disputes between litigants, and that's all pre-trial. I also serve as a special referee for uncontested matrimonial matters. So I review applications for divorce and sign judgments of divorce. And also I work in the help center. And that's very important to me.
Oh my
Because
goodness,
I
Frank
believe in
Seddio's
equal
here.
access to justice, so I provide forms, information about court processes, and I give them access to free legal services. Thank
Wow.
you.
Sounds like she's not a lawyer. That probably qualifies her.
I'd like to also acknowledge 2 special people here today. Please give a nice hands together for District Leader Mark Hanna and District Leader Frank Seddio. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All right. Next person I'd like to bring up is Miss Susan Liebman.
Yeah, a belated oh my God.
Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. We appreciate this more than I can say. Hope I can speak for all of you. I born and raised in Brooklyn, actually from Canarsie. My parents stayed there until they passed away about 20 years ago, so I've always been back and forth to Canarsie.
Oh my goodness.
I've been community-minded my entire life. I've been a lawyer for 35 years. I can't believe I'm saying it, but it's true. I've been a law clerk, working in just about every part of the court for about 28 years. I've settled scores of matrimonial matters, trying to help people get on with their lives without the need for a judge to make the decisions on their personal life. In my personal life, I do a significant amount of work for the Sisterhood of my synagogue. I've personally raised hundreds of thousands of dollars having fundraisers in my home for citywide volunteer ambulance corps. And in the future, I would love to have the opportunity to speak with all of you individually and tell you more about myself. Thank you for your time.
Born and raised in Canarsie. All right, Brooklyn's in the house. Last but not least, I want you to stomp your feet, clap your hands for Yvonne Pritchett.
Hi, Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Yvonne Pritchett, and I am the proud descendant of enslaved individuals from North Carolina. I'm very passionate about public service. I started my public service career when I graduated from Penn State as an inspector for the Department of Consumer Affairs. I attended New York Law School in the evening division because I had to work full-time during the day.
This is their makeshift recording.
Joined the District Attorney's Office, the Kings County District Attorney's Office, as a prosecutor for approximately 10 years, where I worked in a specialized Bureau of Crimes Against Children's Bureau. I then became an 18B defense attorney, where I handled felony and homicide cases. I also became a court attorney for 2 different judges, before subsequently becoming the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Correction. And it is an honor to be here before you and to sit up here with these esteemed colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing something very important about yourselves. I know 1 minute's not enough, but trust me, you did enough tonight, which is amazing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open up the floor to some questions. All right.
So we're going to start with questions, and we're going to start with our questions that we have, and then we're going to actually open it up to some audience questions if we have time.
Oh, of course, audience is always last.
We have 2 mics here, and we have 9 candidates, as you can see. You just heard from all 9. And again, we want to keep our answers to 1 minute if possible. We will let you have up to 2 minutes, but try to keep it between 1 to 2 minutes. And we are going to have this mic that we're going to keep on this table here. The mic, the button is off and on. So, I know. You guys went to law school, so if you can't figure it out, we have more than one problem. So the first question that we have for you is a hardball question, because you might as well start hardball when why not? What is your approach, and anybody can answer this first, so please, if you have an answer to this, just raise your hand and we'll go that way, and then we'll figure it out. What is your approach to ensuring equal access to justice for all community members, regardless of socioeconomic status? Yes, please.
Hello, Linda Locascio again. As I mentioned before, I am already serve as an assistant to a judge in the very role that I seek. In the course of my job, I already do that as an assistant, as an court attorney, and I deal with many vulnerable communities. I've been part of a guardianship part that is both for elderly people who have become incapacitated, as well as special needs children. I've also had a mental hygiene part, which deals with people with mental illness. And now, as I mentioned before, I'm in the surrogates court, and we are dealing with grieving parties. And of course, in the surrogates court, everybody walks in, different ethnicities, different immigrants, everyone, and they just need a helping hand, and they just need justice. They just need to be heard, and they just need to be guided. And there's no look at where they are financially or where they come from. We're there to help, and that's our sole goal and job.
All right, well, I've worked
I don't think it's
about
on.
12 years in the help center. And often I'm one of the first people in the courthouse that people come in to see. So it's very important to me that I have a level playing field, that I let the people who come before me understand that I'm here to listen and help them. So one of the first things that comes out of my mouth is, how can I help you? A lot of times people come in and English is not their first language. We immediately call a translator. If a translator isn't available, then we have a phone translation service. And I immediately let people know that I'm there to help them with any questions. Sometimes people have questions that have nothing to do with Supreme Court, Kings County. And we try everything we can to help people out. I also help explain court procedures and court forms too. Also, people come in with legal notices and they have no idea what they're about. I'll sit down with them and explain them to them. So it's very important to me that everybody has equal access to justice.
I think one of the most important parts of being, for me as a court attorney, assisting judges, I think the most important part is tone. When somebody walks into your courtroom, you want to look them in the eye and you want them to know, I'm going to listen to you, right? I see you, and you have
Frank
a
just
point of view.
left.
The other party also has a point of view, so let's let each other talk, right? I'm hearing what you're saying, right? And I'm noting, I make the eye contact, I want you to understand, right? And I know this seems like a simple concept, but I think it's a human concept, right? And a lot of times people come into the courthouse and they see this big building, there's a whole bunch of people rushing around, people in their suits and their ties and then in their suitcases. But once they walk into that courtroom with you, right, you want to establish, hi, your case is on. How are you doing, right? There's a party here, there's a party here. Okay, let's talk about what's going on. For me, that's probably the most important part of being on this side of the bench.
In my 20 years of civil litigation, I've had pro se litigants, self-represented.
She seems to know that you have to hold the mic near your mouth.
So I was on the other side of the case. I was always very patient, very kind, let them know the resources such as the self-represented office in the courthouse where they could go to and get information. I never made them feel like they were shut out or unequal because I'm an attorney on this side and my client's represented. I always did inform them of the resources that they had and the help that they could seek in the courthouse. As a court attorney now, there are a lot of cases at my judge conferences and my I-conference that involve pro se, sometimes on both sides. There's debt collector cases where the person appears, didn't know about the case, there's a judgment against them, mortgage foreclosure actions, and then there's non-jury trial, pre-trial conferences that involve sometimes civil matters between families. And no one wants to be in court. If you're in court, it's not fun, you're not having a good time. And they usually come to me very frustrated. Either they've been passed around to different places, they don't have the information they need, and I've always taken the time to help them and put them on the right path, let them know all the information they need on how my part works and what my judge's role is, and then always provide them with the resources they need to defend the case or prosecute the case or whatever it is that they're looking to do. Thank you.
My experience as a small claims court arbitrator, very early in my career, about 30 years ago, taught me a lot about dealing with pro se litigants. By the time they are before you, they are very frustrated and they want to and they need to be heard. I find when people come before you pro se like that, just let them speak. But it's not just letting them speak. I would tell the lawyers who are on the other side, you and I do this for a living. The public does not. Please don't interrupt them while they're speaking. Save all your objections to the end. Speak up at the end and tell me what it is that you disagree. But please do not interrupt while they're speaking because they will lose their train of thought and they will get very frustrated. After being an attorney, I obtained a dual master's in general and special education. I was a licensed teacher and I taught special education students. I believe that course about learning disabilities should be a course in law school because it taught me more about how to interact with people and actually listen to them. If you ever with a pro se litigant and you're not quite sure what they're saying or the answer coming back at you doesn't make sense, that's because they're not processing your question correctly. So
He's getting
dealing
cut
with
off.
pro se's and people in the community is really understanding who they are and effective communication with them. And then speaking to them in a manner that they can understand you. And that's how you guarantee access to justice for everyone. Because again, we do this all day long for a living, the public does not.
And just real quick, can you please define what a pro se litigant is for anyone who might not know legal terminology?
A pro se litigant is someone who is unrepresented by an attorney, so they are representing themselves in the matter.
Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to say, as the last on the panel, I share in all the sentiments that my fellow candidates have stated. Just as I don't see race or ethnicity in anyone that comes into the courtroom, I don't see socioeconomic status either. I think an important pathway to equal access to justice is making sure that everyone who comes into the courtroom understands what's going on. I had an incident recently where it was a pro se litigant, and an attorney was on the other side, and he's speaking so fast. You can tell that she does not understand what's going on, but she's nodding and okaying. And I took them outside and I said, counsel, slow down and explain everything that you're saying. What is this? What is that? And she mouthed to me, thank you. And so I think more important than a lot is just them understanding what's going on in the courtroom. How many times have, just regular lay people left court and not understood a thing that is going on? Perhaps they can't afford an attorney to explain to them the legal jargon. I feel that at times it is my responsibility to make sure that they left the court understanding what's happening in their lives. So that is equal access to justice. Thank you.
I have had the privilege of working with pro se litigants throughout my career. I worked on the 2,000 oldest foreclosure cases in the building, for example, and had the privilege of making sure in every single foreclosure action, which was generally a bank or a money person against a pro se person, that every single formality, every I was dotted, every T was crossed, because if there was any kind of mistake, there was no foreclosure. And that was very, very important to me because deed theft, foreclosure can decimate a family. We know that. As Janice said, having the proper interpreter is critical. Having people know that they're understood, that they're heard is critical. And separate and apart from that, my parents instilled in me that the most important qualities that I had when I grew up was kindness and compassion. Behind every set of papers are real people with real lives, and you have to show kindness. And I think if you do that, you're able, or at least I am, able to get the story out, to know what's really going on, and to try to help them resolve it without having to go in front of a judge necessarily, because it's traumatic. It's very painful. It's very difficult to leave your life in someone else's hands. Thank you.
Yeah, I think anytime that anyone has to go or is involved in the court system in any way, it is a traumatic experience. And I think, you really have to be empathetic and you really have to listen to the individuals who are before you to understand what their objectives are and how you can best achieve their objectives. But when I say you really have to listen, sometimes people just say, yeah, but they're not really understanding what it is your issues are. As a prosecutor, I was very interested in achieving justice, and justice did not always equate with jail. And the victims of crimes were always part of the system and the decision making, because a lot of times they didn't seek jail. They sought help for the person who was accused of doing the crime. As a defense attorney, I fought to ensure that the prosecution was held to their burden. And even in my natural, regular capacity as just me going to the store or speaking to people, I get calls to this day. asking for references for attorneys, or if I can handle a case or whatever, because I believe in providing information, and directing people to where they can get information and help. And I guess that's it, my 1 minute.
Before I ask the next question, I just want to acknowledge, we have District Leader Serrana Purcell in the house. Please give a hand for Serrana. My question for y'all is, how do you define the role of a civil court judge, and what qualities do you believe are essential for this position? So I guess we'll start here and go down. I wish I came up with it, but I'm not going to take the credit.
I'm sorry, what was the?
How do you define the role of a civil court judge, and what qualities do you believe are essential for this position?
Well, first, the qualities are fairness and objectivity. I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of unfairness. And patience. I've been in front of judges where they've lacked patience for the attorney to formulate their arguments. Knowledge of the law, at least a rudimentary understanding of the law and how it applies to the case that they're hearing. I think that's very important. And like my colleague said, compassion, a sense of humor. That always provides some levity, because again, it's still a nerve-wracking experience for any of you who have ever been to court. And a civil court judge is someone who has to fairly and objectively listen to the evidence, both sides, and apply the law as it is written, because that is the role of a judge. The role of a judge is not to make law, but to follow the law and apply the law to the facts of the case. And I think a good civil court judge possesses the requisite abilities to do that. Thank you.
As has been said before, the civil court is the people's court. It's where many people are first introduced to the court system. The role of the judge is to give each side within the ambit of the law the opportunity to present their case very fairly. If, for example, someone is not presenting all the facts, we can ask, for example, for someone to speak in a narrative if they're testifying. We can make it easier for people to access justice. And I think giving people the sense that they're heard, giving people the sense that the court is fair, giving people just a little levity, if possible, so that they can relax a little bit and tell you their story that we need to know, I think is the role of a civil court judge. Thank you.
Right, so I agree.
You'll see they'll never get around to
what,
people's
my
questions.
said. I also think that there's an aspect of being a judge where there are times you are thrown into a new part, or there are new assignments thrown your way, and you have to have strong qualities and like organizational skills. Okay, like you have to be able to take on new assignments and handle all of your cases effectively and efficiently, while also being very mindful, again, that everybody is heard and everybody feels respected. And although some people might not like your decision because you didn't go their way, at least they know that they got a fair shake and you were heard. But I do think a big aspect of it is you have to have strong organizational skills. You have to be able to juggle and handle a lot of things that are thrown your way.
Of course, I echo all the sentiments expressed. One of the other things I believe is very important in a civil court judge, again, having observed this personally, is compromise. Not every case, I mean, you of course need to follow the law, but sometimes there's an opportunity to compromise. Everyone may not walk away completely happy, but maybe a little unhappy. And so if there's room for that, and even in the high volume parts that I've worked, there is room, and you try to do that, and you give them an opportunity to be heard, and then you see if maybe you can work something out, something that's bearable. And while the sums in lower court is a lower amount, unlike Supreme, there's more room to do that. There's more wiggle room to do that. So I think it's very important for a civil court judge to negotiate, have the ability to negotiate, compromise, and hear both sides. The other qualities I think are very important because, as I mentioned, you deal with most people that can't afford an attorney, are dealing with different issues. And so they may not always be completely themselves or the way they want to be, and they're nervous. So I think compassion is a very, very strong quality necessary in a judge, in addition to everything else mentioned.
So in civil court, because of the lower threshold for monetary value for you to bring your case, probably more likely to see people not represented by attorneys. And so for me, civil court is, my ears perk up. It's not just people who are responding to complaints, right? It may, for instance, in landlord-tenant court, you may very well have a pro se landlord, right, who has been stuck. They only have a two-family, right, and they need to pay a mortgage, right? So, my ears perk up and I hear, okay, people are going to be coming in with some very specific issues to themselves. And so for me, again, it's back to listening, right? Just seeing who these litigants are and understanding what particular posture they're coming into this particular case and how can we come together and, and resolve this issue. Most of the times you would like to compromise, but at the end of the day, they came to you because you're the judge, right? They come to you, they present the case, and they have to feel that you are being heard, right? And so giving them the opportunity,
They are being heard.
looking
I
at
think
them,
she means.
looking at the case, and looking at the facts, I think is three of the most important things that a civil court judge could have.
I'm Marissa Arabito. Going on what all my colleagues have said, the role of a judge is to follow the law, uphold the law, apply it, and interpret it. As one of my colleagues said, judges don't make the law. But in doing that, there are certain qualities that are necessary for a judge to have, especially when there are pro se litigants or whatever the case may be. And this isn't just in civil court, this is every court. Compassion, patience, understanding of that human element. In the case, there are two humans, one human being. No two humans are alike, no two cases are alike. You have to dig deep. You have to be able to answer questions. You have to have the ability to work hard and get to the root of the problem and figure out what is in the best interest of the litigants. Of course, your decision has to be according to the law as it is written and apply the law as it is written. However, you also have to take a lot of factors into account to make a fully informed decision. And that's qualities that every judge should have.
Let's see if they ever get to questions.
I echo what has been said here, so I will not repeat too much of it. But what is important when people walk in a courtroom, the qualities that a civil court judge should show is that everybody is welcome. People sometimes feel like they're out of their element and they're not welcome in a court, especially if they're the person being sued. Because people who are on the other end of it that are unrepresented feel as if everyone thinks they did something wrong. They must have done something wrong because I'm being sued. So all litigants, whether they are the person suing or the person being sued, need to feel welcome. They're all on equal footing when they walk in there. There's been no predetermination of who's right and who's wrong. You need to listen to both sides and then come to a conclusion. Also, there's a diverse subject matter that you will come in contact with in the civil court. We all don't remember everything from law school. There is no shame in saying to someone, I hear you, can you explain that further? There's no shame in saying that. You should say that if there's something they're telling you that you either don't understand or you don't remember. And then it is your obligation, after they give you both sides, to go and research and find out what the answer is before you write a decision. That is very important, because this affects everyone's life. Again, whether you're the person looking to recover money, or you're the person that may have to pay the money, you should have a well-reasoned decision. You should know why. And that is very important. That is the role of the civil court judge, to let people know why you came to that decision and how you came to that decision.
I agree with everything that has already been said. A civil court judge obviously should be fair and impartial. I think I most agree, though, with the compassion. I definitely think that that is a main trait that a judge should have. As a civil court judge, we may be designated to family court. And as you may know, family court has some of the most heart-wrenching stories and cases that you will ever hear. And you need to have a judge sitting in those parts that is compassionate and patient and has a strong mind to hear those cases day in and day out. So definitely, again, echo everything that's been said.
Thank you so much, everyone, for those answers. I also wanted to point out that we are live streaming this forum on our social media channels. The live stream is actually angled right here, so just give everybody online a wave. It was over in the hall, but now it's here. Our next question is about community engagement.
How about people's
How
questions?
important is it to you to engage with the community and community initiatives? Whether it's right now in your personal life, or whether it's in your role as, you know, in the court system. And can you tell us about that? Or maybe it's something, if not something that you do right now, maybe it's a proposal to improve the functioning of the court. Since we start on this side, and since you've got the mic, let's start over there.
Can you just repeat the first part of the question?
How important it is to you, how important is community engagement to you and community initiatives as a whole?
So community engagement is very important. I think you need to understand the communities in which we will serve as a judge. As a judge, it tends to be a bit isolating in terms of community engagement, but knowing the programs that are out there in the community, I think is very helpful as a judge. I think they should know, so that when those
I think our friend Frank is
conversations come
asleep.
before you, you are understanding what is being said. You also understand that the people before you, the litigants before you, what exactly are the services that they need. And so as a judge, knowing these programs, these community programs, I think can help. I had one situation,
Put in the
for
comments
example,
whether
when I
you
was
think
with,
they'll ever come
ACS,
to people
where
questions.
the parent was a Caribbean father. And it is important to know that there is a culture that is very different from the American culture. And so if we are to provide services for this particular individual, knowing where he's from and knowing what he may need to understand, I think is important. So one of my questions to the caseworker was, where is he from? She didn't find that very important. And once she told me where he was from, the service plan in my mind changed. I thought that he would need perhaps a program in the community that dealt with individuals from Caribbean cultures and Caribbean countries. And so I said, let's look into Sesame Flyers, for example, and the parenting program that they have there, because parenting culture is very different. And so I think having that understanding, even in my role as a court attorney, was important for that family. And we were able to reunify that family rather than remove the child and separate them, because he would have a better understanding of what it took as a newly immigrated person to this country, what it took to be a parent in America, which was very different from his culture. So I think it is very important to understand the community programs as a judge.
Wow.
Community engagement is very important because you need to know the communities that you're going to be serving. And Brooklyn is a large borough, and people from all over the borough will be coming in to your courtroom. So being out in the community, attending events that you're able to attend, because as some of you may already know, we can't attend political events once we're elected, but attending community events and finding what's going on out in communities. So for example, years ago, there were certain sections of Brooklyn that were hit very hard by the predatory lending and the foreclosure crisis. That was very important to be aware of what was going on. As I said earlier, currently out in the Jewish community here in Brooklyn, they are being targeted by a change in the law, trying to get their children special education services in the yeshivas. So that's very important to know because that law is out there and right now it's in flux. So if you have someone before you, because whatever I decided as a decision in oath to give a child special ed services, the appeal after they exhausted it to the state was a special proceeding in state Supreme Court. And that's where you went to take your appeal in what we call a trial de novo or retrial. But if you're not out in the community and you're not up on current events, you wouldn't know that this is disproportionately affecting a particular community in Brooklyn. Additionally, other communities are impacted, for example, by deteriorating buildings that were put up years ago. And they're all in landlord tenant court, they're all in civil court, because the buildings are deteriorating as lead in the apartments. So it's very important to get out in the community whenever possible to understand what's going on for when they come in the courtroom and they're trying to explain to you what their problem is, but at least you have background information, so you already have a basis of knowledge that you can fill in the blanks as they're speaking.
Community engagement should be a priority for any judge. It's people from the community that are coming before you. Again, not just civil court judges, all judges. So it's extremely important to get to know the community, the people that are appearing before you. And also with the initiatives, all the services that are available depending on what court you sit in. As my colleague has given a few examples of services that would be available. And you need to have knowledge of the case in front of you, get all the information, and then having that basis and having that knowledge of what's out there and how the individual could be supported in certain courts like family court. That is extremely, extremely important.
One of the things I see when people come into court is just this fear, again, fear of just walking into the building. And as one of my colleagues here mentioned before, I had to feel like a litigant, and even if it's an attorney, even if it's somebody who's not represented by an attorney, when you walk into a courtroom, you know, it's intimidating, and so this fear or this intimidation, I think, really needs to start from like the very, very beginning. I'm part of a charter school here in Brooklyn, but you know, it's what a joy it is to see some of the kids come out to the courthouse and just visit. They have my number. You know, they come out, they look at the court, and they see how people interact, right? They see how people talk to the lawyers and speak to the judges, but then also this interaction lets them know judges are people too, right? Judges are people that you need to come before to present a case, but a judge has a certain set of experiences, and a judge needs to learn to listen just a bit, right, to what the case is before them, right? And probably that engagement, especially with the children, right, is probably the most important thing because it starts from the very beginning. Come to the court, you're welcome in the court, know where to go, know how to access the programs, and from that, I think, I feel like that is the first basic building block for people to come to the court and access what they will later on need?
For me, community engagement first is getting feedback, finding out and identifying what the needs are. Then how can I help? What resources can we provide? And how can we educate the public on those issues? For instance, with respect to the guardianship, as I'm sure now you've gathered I'm quite passionate about, we make sure that we have, and I'm also on a fundraising committee for this issue, we make sure that we have resources for the families. And I've also been participating in resource centers outside in the community in order to provide information to special needs parents, to caregivers of parents who are becoming incapacitated, mentally ill, parents of mentally ill children who don't know where to turn. It's very important for me and I think we mentioned this, that I've been in many different courts in many different parts, including matrimonial. It's very important for me to gather the resources and to have them, especially when I have, as we mentioned per se, come into the courtroom to educate them. I also believe in going into the public and speaking. In fact, last year, I think it was May, I was in this very building with the surrogate educating on deed fraud because we know that's prevalent in the Kings County community. So it is my hope and intention that community engagement continues with us educating the public so that we can help them, help us, help them.
So in this journey, I've attended countless community board meetings, police precinct meetings, and when I talk about the work that I do in the help center, people's eyes perk up and they ask me more questions about what is the help center, what do you do there? And that is so pivotal to let the community know that this is a free resource, that you can come to the center, we can explain what's going on if you've received legal notices or if you need help. A lot of people in the public don't know that we have free legal services. We have a volunteer lawyers project that shut down during COVID, but prior to COVID, I was a supervising attorney for volunteer attorneys that helped people fill out their paperwork for divorces. All of these things are so crucial that people in the community don't know about. So I think that advocacy and outreach is extremely important.
Well, when I see a person who is in need, regardless of the need, if I'm able to do something for them, I try to do it. So, for example, in my own neighborhood, I saw that nail technicians, their tips were going right to their, I was going to say owners, which is disgusting, but that's what I was thinking of, the owners of the salon, and the girls were getting paid because the owner would say they owed them money for something. I'm not allowed to give legal advice. I am allowed to give procedural advice. I got the papers for them to file to get the wages that they were entitled to, told them where to file them, helped them get social services. That's the kind of thing that I do wherever I am.
Well, to whom much is given, much is required. And so, you know, community service, in my personal life, I absolutely love it. I believe in helping people. One of the best times I've had actually was petitioning, because then you actually got to engage with the public and hear all the things, complaints they had about what's not being done in their community. And I remember this one time, and it was sad, and there was a death because of a car accident. The car was speeding on the street, and a young daughter and her mother were killed. And I was getting signatures, and I spoke to the family and sat with them and gave them my condolences. And, you know, they were complaining, and so were other people, about the speeding cars. And I said, I give you my word that I'm going to take this back to the powers that be. I'm just no one, you know, but I will bring your concerns, voice your concerns to the powers that be. And at the time, it was for the TJ Club. And former Mayor Bill de Blasio happened to be there that night. And I was speaking to a senator, and I said, listen, you know, there's a problem on the street about speeding and
TJ
people are
Club
complaining
is
that
Thomas
there's speed
Jefferson.
bumps. Is there anything you can do? And the senator said, well, here's the mayor, tell him. And the mayor's standing like right there, and I'm like, and I just repeated what I said, you know, to the senator, to Mayor Bill Blasio. And then he was spouting off statistics and the reasons why, whatever. But I was very proud because I went back on my own time to that area to let them know I told. And they were very happy about that. So that was very proud, a proud moment for me.
So what happens when you come to DJ?
Unbelievable. This is a shame. What they're showing is how insider politics this whole thing is.
I'm going to ask if you could say your name before you answer the question. It's for the people on the live there, just so they know exactly who you are. Okay. What ethical principles do you believe are essential for maintaining public trust in the legal system?
Will there ever be public question?
Well, I believe that sorry. Yvonne Pritchett, that your yay should be your yay and your nay should be your nay. Because it goes to your character. You know, honesty and integrity are very important. And, you know, if I say yes, then that's my word. I should not have to say believe me, because then that means things that I've said prior you should not have believed. Or trust me, or I wouldn't lie to you, or I'm not lying. It's very important that people know where you stand. They may not agree with you. Everyone's not always gonna agree with you, or they may not even like you, but at least they can say, I know where you stand. You know, when I was a prosecutor and when I transitioned to becoming an 18B panel member, you had to get references from all of your opponents, everyone you had gone against in court. Not only did you have to get references from them, but you also had to get references from the judges you appeared before. And I was unanimously approved by my opponents because the one thing they could say, I was tough, but I was fair.
Oh my
They knew
God,
where I
that's
stood,
like
my yay was my
ultimate
yay,
insider.
my nay was my nay.
I was taught a very long time ago. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. My name is Susan Liebman. I was taught a very long time ago that my credibility is everything. And I, to date, cannot think of anything I've done that I need to be, let's say, sorry about, because I do what I do in keeping with my principles and the principles that I was raised with. Today, especially, I think it's important to have cultural competence. It's important to track your biases because we don't even know that we have unconscious bias. And I think challenging myself on those issues is extremely important. Thank you.
My name is Janice Purvis. I believe that compassion, understanding, patience is extremely important. A lot of times when I am conducting conferences, resolving discovery disputes, I can immediately tell if somebody's coming in and they're having an off day, or they're, they're bringing some baggage with them. So I have certain tools in my toolkit to help, soften the circumstances, and then we get back to the matters at hand. And I think it's important to meet people where they're at, and see what they bring to the table. And it's important to have understanding and compassion for what everybody's going through.
I think, especially Linda Locascio, especially in the people court, there needs to be an acknowledgement of feelings. People may have a case or they may not. If they do not, that one thing I know for sure is that they want to be heard and they want to be acknowledged. So I find that extremely important to acknowledge feelings. I also find it very important for the process to be explained, especially if you have an attorney on the other side who may be impatient, maybe also brought a bad day to the table. They need to, the pro se just wants to be acknowledged. Sometimes what I also do, with permission, I will take each person over to the side and have a little conversation with them and find out what it is they really need. And that goes back to what I talked about compromise. One thing I try to, I think I do actually articulate is that I'm honest. I'm very honest. They may not like what I say, but I make sure that my delivery is gentle, and so that they're not surprised. But more importantly, if the result is not going to go their way, I make sure that they've had every opportunity to explain themselves.
In order, Janice Chen. In order to provide the litigants in front of you to, be able to properly express or properly argue their points, I think first and foremost, it's our obligation to let them know that when they come before the court, it's neutral ground, right? We are impartial, right? We are neutral, and I think it's our obligation to set forth for these people, this is the type of person I am, okay? That when you come before me, I have not prejudged anything. I don't prejudge me. I will not have prejudged you either, regardless of how you have walked into the courtroom, right? You need to know that I am here, blank slate. Let's start from here, okay? And then we proceed forward, right? I hear you. I hear what you say. I acknowledge what's going on. What position are you entering this arena from, or what your legal argument is? And then we come to that conclusion. Or if the parties cannot come to that conclusion, then yes, right? You leave it for the court, the judge, to make that ultimate decision. But you don't trust us unless you come in here knowing that we're neutral, we are impartial.
As attorneys, we have Marissa Aravito. As attorneys, obviously, we have ethical rules we need to uphold, judges do as well. However, in my personal life and throughout my entire career, I've always been extremely trustworthy. Transparency is extremely important. Honesty. And I've also seen that play out as a court attorney with my judge. I work for one of the most well-respected judges in Supreme Court, civil terms. Colleagues can tell you. But you earn that respect. You have to earn it. You have to make sure the people appearing before you, whether they be attorneys, pro se litigants, that they trust you and they believe what you're saying. And my judge does that day in and day out. He, when a pro se litigant who doesn't appear before him often for the first time, he takes the time to explain who he is, and he's very transparent about what is going to happen in the case, what he feels the case is worth. He's very honest, and he lets them know, he's very upfront with them, and he makes them feel comfortable. He makes them trust him, and that has to be earned. And I believe I've earned that in my personal life and in my career. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Nuccio. The top 3 ethical qualities for a judge are integrity, transparency, and impartiality. Integrity is who you are behind the scenes when nobody is looking. Your reputation is who people think you are. And in the day of social media, you need to have integrity because there's always a camera running, and you have to remember that just because you don't know somebody's watching, they may be watching. So you must conduct yourself at all times with integrity. Transparency is very important also in the age of social media. And an example is as follows. The other day, there were lawyers in the courtroom on a case in front of my judge. And I said to my judge, you need to disclose that my son works for one of the lawyers that's coming in front of you, because they should know that, because I'm the judge's right-hand person. So that to some people might make them uncomfortable that I would convince my judge to rule in my son's firm's favor. He's paralegal, not an attorney. And she put it on the record and they said, no, we believe you could be fair. But that's your basic transparency, is disclosing, even though you might not think it's an issue, it's what the litigants think may be an issue. It's always from their perspective, what do they think and how are they going to perceive it? And impartiality, that also goes with integrity and transparency.
You hear how
Impartiality means no matter who you are, no matter what walk of life you come from, or your political beliefs. Because political beliefs are out there. We know who everybody's political beliefs are. Because we see people who are prominent people in the news come in front of us. And it doesn't matter who they are, they're entitled to the same benefit of the doubt when their case is being decided. And pro se unrepresented litigants sometimes come up against these people that are in the news. And they have to understand that doesn't matter how much money the other side has, who they are in the community, you are their equal in this courtroom. And that's very important for people to walk away with that sense that they were equally heard.
and you hear how tangled the web is.
I think another ethical consideration for every judge is to avoid the look of impropriety, right? So anything that may be perceived as biased on the judge should be avoided at all costs. So for example, you are a pro se litigant. You walk into the courtroom and you see the judge laughing and kicking it with another attorney. You immediately get the sense that, oh wow, they're friendly. They know each other. What are they talking about? Now they may very well be talking about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl next weekend, right?
You shouldn't
But
be doing that.
you don't know that. You don't know if they're talking about a case. All you see is that they are laughing and talking and very friendly. And the judge is about to call your case, right? So it's
terrible.
the perception. And so judges should avoid that at all costs. Always avoid the perception of impropriety.
Well, there's got to be laws against that and punishment.
Thank you so much, everyone. We are now at 7:30, so we're going to move on right now to audience questions. We have these cards for anyone who is interested in writing a question for the panel. And we're asking you to please write your question on this card. You're going to hand it back in, and then we're just going to check to make sure that the question is up to, legal standards and everything.
They don't want any out of the...
Answer the question asked. Anyone want to ask a question? So we're going to give everyone just a few minutes to write their questions.
And guys, remember, this is very important. Just make sure the questions are appropriate, the questions are good, and good luck. Thank you. I like that. Okay. So, things that you can ask, for example, their experience. What made them want to run for civil court judge? Or what challenges have they faced in the court of law? Any things like pertaining to that.
Thank you very much. Hello? Hello? I don't think I need this. On behalf of our chair and the committee, I would like to introduce the committee that worked so hard and tried to put this together for us. First, we have Mr. Tony Thomas. Say hello.
This is a question that they probably won't answer.
My name is Tony Cole. I'm a AD49. It's a little bit of Sunset Park, Bensonhurst, Dyker High, a little bit of Coney Island, I believe. My first day here, my first time here, I'm a new comment, and this is something there's a lot for me to learn. Thank you.
name is Ms. Savannah. Stephanie, say hello.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Savannah Stuy. I represent the 43rd Assembly District, covering the areas of Crown Heights, Prospect Bluffs Gardens, Flatbush, and a little bit of East Flatbush. I'm glad you guys made it out tonight in the rain. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead a little bit. And then we have Mr. Tony Hines in the back, stand up tall. Mr. Hines, so they can see who you are. These are the guys that make this all legal. And then we have a young man that we're looking for Black Fusion, Mr. Black, your MC.
That's gonna make me blush, you better stop. I'm Vladimir Edward, Judicial Delegate and Democratic County Committee Member for the 42nd Assembly District. Shout out to District 42.
Thank you.
I'm also a guy that loves politics. So you'll find me in every event being Dixie. Thank you so much for being here. And also, everybody, Jackie Painter, thank you.
Yes.
So as soon as you're done writing your questions, just make sure to pass it up, bring it on, and I will be looking at them, myself and Jackie will be making sure that, again, the questions are appropriate, and
Heaven forbid they should be.
candidates. Don't worry, don't be nervous, I'm sure the questions are fine, and so far, you all did amazing tonight, I think. Thank you. I got you.
There's a reason why I want to know that. Yes.
We'll see if any questions from the real public happen. See, this is the insiders up here.
This is a good question. I'm gonna steal it. I'm sorry.
These are the insiders up here.
You know what? We're gonna make a special case for you. Just because I'm a host, I'm gonna make a special case.
There's a special case. They can ask their own questions. Look at that. This is really ridiculous. Now they're just going to collapse the whole place. We'll see if elected by the people, true democracy is a question. Whether that can be asked, that's probably not a valid question. Heaven forbid we should have a question about democracy. You see the person in the front row is able to ask their own question because I guess they're trusted by the party machine. But obviously the non-party machine people are not trusted. Oh, there's the machine over there. Just can't get more machine than this.
All right, we're going to start with the first question. So the first question, and you can, of course, you can have it anonymous, or you can say who you are once we read the question.
Who's your favorite hairstylist?
They're going to ask about sports.
As a judge, and remember, we're still on 1 to 2 minutes. As a judge, what steps will you take to ensure your court attorney is sympathetic, especially to
Oh my God!
pro se
Another
party?
softball question.
Okay, so
So it's because we're not.
All right, let's do 2 people.
Oh, they don't know what they're doing.
2 answers per question? Yeah, all right, let's do 2 answers.
Fight it out, fight it out.
All right, we're going to repeat it. As a judge, what steps will you take to ensure that your court attorney is sympathetic, especially to the pro se party?
So I think initially, during the interview process, you can sort of weed out who your court attorney is, the person that you're going to hire. But I also think it is very, very important for a judge to set the tone in his or her courtroom. And that, I think, begins with a meeting. So you're going to have a meeting with your court attorney, you're going to have a meeting with your clerk, you're going to have a meeting with your court officers. And you are to set the
Listen
tone
to this,
on
everybody.
how they treat litigants and attorneys in your courtroom. So I think it starts by greeting. So everyone gets a good morning. I've seen attorneys say good morning to judges and judges don't respond. Why? Right? So judges should say good morning.
Wow.
Your court attorney, right, should
Listen
say
to
good morning
this.
to everyone before they start on the bench, before they call their cases. Good morning, counsel. Good morning, litigants. Let's call the case. It doesn't take much to be kind and respectful.
Yes.
And I think the judge is the leader of the courtroom, and it trickles down to their court attorneys, their clerks, and even the court officers. I have seen, and I hope none of you have experienced this, but I've seen court officers who are disrespectful to litigants. The litigants are angry, right? Understandably, no one wants to be in court. They may ask it in a not too nice way. They may ask a question that comes off that, they have an attitude. And if you don't set the tone for your courtroom, then that court officer is going to answer in kind. And that is how judges sometimes get bad reputations. It depends on
Let's
your
hope this
courtroom
ends soon,
and how
this
they are
torture.
with litigants. So I think it starts from there. If I have to have it every morning, I'll have a meeting. So once the doors open, I expect for everyone to say good morning. I expect that if there's a question, people are not ignored. And that you answer respectfully, and you have to understand that people there will be angry, and you have to know how to deal with it. And if I don't see that happening, then I may need a new court attorney.
Thank you.
Teresa Nuccio. It starts in the interview process, and people who know me will tell you that I just cut right to the chase. I'm directly to the point in the interview process. This is what I expect from you in the courtroom when you are dealing with the litigants. You have to be friendly, warm. You have to deal with them with respect.
Listen
If
to
that's
this.
something you feel you can't do, this job is not for you. You have to cut it off right at the beginning. And then you have to lead by example. So if someone says yes, and they start the job, and you lead by example, and they follow along, that's great. But as Celeste said, if you see that they can't, then it's time to find a new court attorney. Because I am the first person in my entire family line to go to college. My father never graduated high school. He cleaned toilets for Pan American World Airways. You treat everyone right down to the person who cleans the toilets and mops the floors with respect. Everybody is entitled to respect. By the time my father was done, he was head of the ground operations at Orlando International Airport. It's not where you start, it's where you finish in life. But if where you finish is a laborer, that's who you are, and you're entitled to the respect that we give everyone.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wow.
And then just for the next 2,
Hard
just
to
to make it
believe.
simple, we're going to do next 2, next 2, next 2. Next question. As a judge, what steps will you take to ensure your court attorney, next question. That was a trick question. Next question. How do you envision incorporating technology or other innovations to improve the efficiency and accessibility of the court system?
Marissa Arabito again. The entire 3 years that I've been a court attorney, both judges have been virtual. So we have pro se litigants, and access to the court system has been a priority. It's been extremely important. People may not have computers, they may not have smartphones, and we accommodate them. So even though our conferences are virtual, and we use the technology, I reach out, I make sure that they have the technology to log on or call in. And some self-represented people, they call me and say, I don't even know how to call in or how to use the ID. And then I'll accommodate them, we'll bring them in person and hold conferences in person. But technology has been used primarily since the pandemic when everyone had
Here
to go
we are
remote.
rambling.
And holding virtual conferences for people who are sick, who can't leave their home, who just don't even know how to take a train to the courthouse.
Oh my God.
You have to accommodate them. You have to do it virtual, whether they're witnessing a hearing, whether it's a conference, no matter what the case may be, you need to accommodate the people, and holding hearings and conferences virtually is the best way to do that, to accommodate people.
Again, I agree. Janice Chen, I agree. Of course, since COVID and the incorporation of video conferencing, almost all of our hearings have been virtual. Of course, that provides access
That's
for
terrible.
all people to get on. I think part of what we do is we allow all parties to log in.
Virtual stinks.
Conference, we break out into conference rooms so that, or if litigants need to speak to their attorneys, we give them their own breakout rooms so they can have that discussion with their attorneys virtually. And again, if somebody cannot or is not able to install the software on their phone, on their laptop, we've done hybrid hearings, right? They come into the courtroom and we have the big TV for them, we set the camera on them, and we let them participate in the hearing with us. And the attorneys can be virtual as well, but as long as they have access to it physically, I think that's the most important part, participation.
Thank you very much. Next question. What changes, if any, would you want to see implemented at your level of the civil circuit or court circuit? And what, if any, don't you agree with?
I've had the pleasure of working with 3 judges, Linda Locascio. I've had the pleasure of working with 3 judges that are very receptive of feedback, not only of the bar, the public, and myself. So pretty much everything we do has integrated my thoughts, the judges' thoughts, and the feedback that we receive. I guess what I would do is emulate the best of all my judges in my own courtroom. And with that, that would be continuing that. Being open to feedback from the officers who deal with the people daily, from the clerks who deal with the people daily, from the bar and the public who I endeavor to make them feel welcomed, and make them feel that they can give me that feedback. So I guess I'll just continue what I'm doing and continue to be ready to pivot and make changes as necessary.
So over my
name.
experience, I've worked for many judges. I've incorporated their styles and their
It's
rules
Purvis.
and working for them. I think it's important as a judge to ask for feedback. And it's not just with your court attorney, it's with the clerks, it's with your staff, because a lot
Frank
of
is
times
typing away.
people that are working for particular judges are afraid to say, I think it would be better if you incorporated this, or if you scheduled things a different way, or, things of that nature. People are a little bit afraid to ruffle feathers, even if they have really constructive criticism. So I think it's really important as a judge to set that tone, to say, if you guys have any suggestions over, how to be more efficient and how to make things work better, I think that's very important.
Just talking back there.
Janice Purvis.
Thank you so much. And for our last question, for our last 2, why do you think you are ready to go to the civil court as opposed to another court?
Well, we've said it before, the civil court is the people's court. It's the lowest level court in terms of threshold, in terms of the amount of money that you are suing for. To me, you get sort of the most, you're not supposed to be involved, but you get the most personal satisfaction, I think, from working with the pro se people and helping them finish their cases and move on with their lives. Why do I think I'm ready? As I previously said, I've worked in just about every part of the court, criminal, civil, matrimonial, all of it. And I kind of think this is the next progression where I can use my experience to help everybody else. Thank you.
They need a job.
Well, I started my career.
Yvonne.
Oh, Yvonne Pritchett. Sorry.
Basically no work.
I started my career in public service, and I think I would like to end my career in public service. With the depth and wealth of experience that I've accumulated over the years in my various iterations as, you know, a prosecutor, an inspector, it always revolved around enforcing the rules, interpreting the law, helping others. And I, you know, being elected to civil court, my understanding is you can be placed wherever there's a need. And, you know, when I was in the DA's office, like I said, I worked in a bureau
DA's
called Crimes
office,
Against
oh my
Children.
God.
And that was a very highly specialized bureau. And all of our victims were under 10 and infants. And the cases ranged from simple home alones to homicides. I had a relationship with ACS. We dealt with family court often. You know, we dealt with intra-family issues because sometimes the perpetrator might have been a member of the family, not some stranger. And you had to deal with the family to make sure that they got the services they needed. So I have experience in that. Again, in criminal law, in civil court, as a court attorney for 2 different judges, I've versed in writing decisions and coming to reasoned and rational decisions, and none of the decisions that I've ever written have been reversed on appeal, and I enjoyed it, so thanks.
Thank you so much. We did have some more audience questions that we didn't get to, but we want to thank everyone for submitting questions. Of course, it would be up to the candidates, but if there is time at the end when we break, of course, you are welcome to ask your questions personally to the candidates when we break the event. You can come up and ask them yourself. There are about 3 questions that we didn't get to. Now we completed our question and answer portion of the forum. And before we close this out, we do want to end by any closing statements. So this is going to be our rapid fire here so that we can all get out by 8 p.m. on a Sunday. What do you guys think? Can we make it happen? Okay. We're going to do this a little differently here. We're going to start with Miss Janice Chen right here in the middle. And then we're going to go this way. And then we're going to go back this way. So, yeah, let's pass the mic. So,
your name first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Janice Chen. The reason why I want to be a judge, one of the reasons why I want to be a judge, I worked for a judge who, in the criminal term, was probably one of the most articulate and compassionate judges that I have ever met. And once, you know, when he sentenced, and it was a really big, high-profile case, but when he sentenced the defendants, and when he said, was so compassionate, he said, you know, there was a victim here, right? Something happened to another human being here, and that is what brought us to this court, right? But what else brought us to this court? These other parties here. there was a tragedy here on this side, there was also a tragedy here on the other side, right? And so when he expressed this, right, I saw, right, the judge not only, right, hears the case, but he saw the parties for who they were. He saw the parties for what the situation was, what brought them there. And that is what I most admire. That is why I think people should become a judge, and that is why I want to be a judge. That is
I just dropped something.
Marissa Arabito. The reason why I want to become a judge is because I feel that my 20 years in civil litigation representing people of Brooklyn in various courts, family court, civil court, Supreme Court, I've handled many civil cases, and in doing that, I'm serving the people of Brooklyn now as a court attorney as well, and I have both sides and that experience from both sides. That gives me the qualifications to be a good and fair judge, but also we talk about integrity, compassion, empathy. You never know people's personal experience. I am a mom. With that comes tons of patience, especially with 2 teenage kids. I am a widow. I am raising them on my own. Again, empathy, because you never know what's going on with the people that are appearing before you. And I want
The
to
last thing I want to do is anger these people, so I'm not going to ask any questions.
And I do that as a court attorney now, but that would give me
But you can see they didn't ask the question we asked.
And I've appeared before judges that were very dismissive. I don't believe in that. And I've appeared before judges that were empathetic, that dug deeper, did the work, asked the questions to make the informed decision. Not always the decision my client wanted, but the correct decision under the law, and a fair one. And that's the kind of judge I want to be. Thank you. Marissa Arabino. Thank you.
Teresa Nuccio. I want to be a judge because I am a people person who enjoys interacting with people and helping people solve their problems. Years ago, I was in family court, and the person on the other end that was not represented by counsel was very frustrated. And I will never forget what the judge said to this person, and I've used it multiple times. Your problems did not start overnight. They will not go away overnight. You need to be patient. We need to work on this. You need to follow what we need, because without the information that we need, we can't help you and we can't help the other side. You cannot come to any type of resolution without what we call a trial or some sort of hearing where somebody will walk away unhappy because somebody will not get what they want, because one person has to win at that point and one person has to lose. But if you make people understand that if you can resolve this without that happening, everybody will walk away happy because you all received something that you wanted out of this litigation. When my son, who's now in his 20s, was a special education student, I was the biggest thorn in the Department of Education side, because I was an attorney and I was able to represent my son's interests without bringing in an attorney. But I didn't know special ed law at that time. And I asked friends, and they gave me all the information I needed. And that's part of the problem when people come to court. They don't have the information that they need. One time there was someone who came in to my judge's courtroom, and I said to him, you know, you really do need a lawyer. I recommend you go find a lawyer. And he said, why? I said, let me ask you what you do for a living. And he said, I'm an auto mechanic. I said, well, I don't fix my own car. I come to someone like you because this isn't what I do all day for a living. You should really speak to a lawyer because this is what they do all day long, and they can give you the knowledge that even if you don't represent them, they can give you the knowledge you need to represent yourself. And I would give them the name to the pro bono projects or the pro se projects. This way they could represent themselves. And that's why I want to be a judge.
My name again is Celeste
Celeste Felix, and again, thank you to all the district leaders, and thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. I want to be a judge because after 18 years of experience in the courtroom mainly, I feel that I am ready for this next step in my life in continuing my purpose of service. I have worked in the family court, in lower civil court, now in Supreme Civil Court, and in my years in family court, I believe there were 13 years, I spent 13 years in family court. I also touched upon criminal law, doing juvenile delinquency matters for nearly 4 or 5 of those years in family court. So I believe I've touched on pretty much every area of the courts that I may be placed in. I am ready to hit the ground running as a judge, whether I be placed in civil, family, or criminal court. After 18 years of working with amazing jurists, as court attorneys, we understand how uniquely positioned we are, working so closely with judges, that we learn how to be a judge. We learn how to think like a judge. I've been a court attorney for nearly 16 years. And I've worked with amazing jurists who have taught me what temperament a judge should have, how to show respect, even when they don't show you respect, how to write thorough, thoughtful decisions. I think that's also important. And I've worked with judges who have shown me the type of judge I want to be. And when I think about the type of judge I want to be, I don't only think about myself in front of a judge, but I think about my 80-year-old grandmother. How would I want her to be treated when she stands before a judge? Do I want her to be dismissed and unheard? I think about my children, if they had to appear before a judge. What type of judge would I want them to be before? So again, I thank you all for coming out on a rainy Sunday, and I am running for civil court judge. Thank you.
Linda Rose here. I hope by now that you can see I love my job. I truly love it. I love working with the people. I am a people person. I love helping people. I'm ready. Simply said, I'm ready. I'm ready in my personal life. I've raised my family. I'm ready in my professional life. I've done everything I set out to do in my career. I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready not only to have my own courtroom, but I'm ready on what having the judicial visibility will bring. The change that I can make on the next level by being a judge. Uniformity, changes in a different level within the big court. So I'm not just looking at what I'm going to do now, but also what I can bring to the table citywide. Thank you.
Again, my name is Janice Purvis. I'm really proud of the fact that I'm considered the Jack or Jill of all trades in the courthouse, that people can come to me, my supervisors can quickly call me up and ask me to help in a part, to train new attorneys, and I will quickly, pivot and work on, whatever I need to do. I've also had the benefit of working for so many judges, so many wonderful judges. So I see all of these amazing qualities in these judges, and this is what I aspire to be. Even though I'm, quasi-judicial now, I still look to these judges to see how they work on their calendars, how they treat everyone else. But it's not just skills and experience. You have to have the right temperament. You have to be able to work well with everybody. You have to have the right level, of compassion and understand. Developed that over the years, working in the various departments, working closely with the clerks and the court officers, and also working in the help center. So I think this is just the next natural progression in my career. Thank you.
Hi again, I'm Susan Liebman. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I want to be a judge at this point in my career because I think I have the temperament, I think I have the values, and I think I have the legal skills to bring to the position of judge of the civil court. I'd love to put my own take on the court. For example, as judges have much more power than court attorneys do, I was hoping, or I am hoping, I might be able to get more resources for the various help centers, for example.
There we go,
There are
more
things you
money.
can do as a judge that you just cannot do as a court attorney. And so that's what I would most look forward to doing as a civil court judge. Thank you.
Good evening, Yvonne Pritchett. I believe that I am ready to be a judge because I do believe wholeheartedly and passionately in the fairness, objectivity, and impartiality of the administration of justice. And also the respect factor. Respect is very important to me, and because I know what it's like to be disrespected. And I was disrespected even though I was an experienced, qualified attorney, and I was actually representing someone. And in front of my client, I had to go to the buildings department. And the judge or hearing officer questioned my qualifications and demanded to see my attorney ID because I couldn't possibly be an attorney. And a second time, another judge asked me if I wanted an adjournment so I can brush up on the law. The long story short, I won both cases, but so respect is very, very important, and too many times I've seen litigants be disrespected and treated in a way where they are turned off by the system. And hopefully we can reestablish some trust and faith that people will be treated fairly and with dignity. Thank you.
My goodness, let's get this over with.
Well, I want to thank.
I want to thank each and every one of you for being out here today, for giving a chance to speak to us and let us know about every wonderful qualities that you have. And just want to let, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to know that although we have 8 candidates, and I would, if it was up to me, I'd put all 8 of you, there are 2 open seats. That's right, there are 2 open seats. Yeah. But again, thank you so much. We appreciate you for being out here. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here as well.
We're going to say peace out.
Yes.
2 district seats, 2 county-wide seats.
So 2 county-wide seats and 2 district seats. Well, I'm going to have the wonderful Frank Seddio explain that to us.
Oh, this is a treat.
Each year when we select, it's a finite number of judges that we have.
Oh my
Usually
God.
we have openings to the civil court when we promote civil court judges to become Supreme Court judges. And last year we did that with 6 judges. However, 2 of them were appointed by the mayor. So he gets to replace those 2. The other 4 are done within the county-wide system. There are judges that run county-wide, meaning all of Brooklyn. And then there are judges that run district-wide. I believe, Henry, where are you?
He left.
Oh, yeah. Okay, for instance, in this area, we have a district-wide seat open in this particular area. We have another one open in East New York as a district-wide seat, which means they have a geographic boundary, usually consisting of about 3 assembly districts. I couldn't give you the actual numbers, but this area has one, for instance, tonight. And whether those judges are running for district court or running for county-wide seats. So we have 2 seats that we will, the district leaders will be meeting with and discussing and endorsing 2 of these ladies come next week, as a matter of fact, probably Thursday night, so which we will be doing so. So this forum was intended so that many of the district leaders and the public could have a chance to meet the people who are going to want 2 of these. It's almost like one of those contests, you see. Yeah, so we're going to get down. It's like Dancing with the Stars, Yeah, so we'll be doing the eliminations on Thursday night. So that's pretty much it.
How does the public give feedback?
That's basically what happened. Now, again, next year, we're going to be picking another 5 Supreme Court judges, which means that there will be 5 open seats in 2026. And again, depending on where those judges come from, there may be district-wide or county-wide seats. And it's a complicated process because it's a little uneven. For instance, this community, which is historically old, I mean, you know, the Bed-Stuy community is 200 years old. Where we come from, and where I come from, the Canarsie community, although it's the same age, we have farms, and you guys have people. So we get one judge by us, you guys get 2 and sometimes 3 judges in the middle of Brooklyn and northern Brooklyn, because that's where the population was when they created the system in 1932. That's when the system was first and last changed. So that's what we face today. Two openings, those county-wide, and 2 openings district-wide. I don't know if any of these young ladies are running for the district-wide seat. Are you running for the district-wide seat, ma'am? You're the only person I never met on this whole panel, so. But that's, you know, depending on what those 2 seats open in East New York or here in Bed-Stuy. And we'll be knowing next week. Now, what happens after this? I'm going to take 2 seconds more to explain. You're all here, so we need you. Because the reason why it's not just saying, okay, congratulations, you're going to be a candidate. You have to win. Winning the Democratic primary in New York City is tantamount to winning the election. Okay, with the exception of maybe governor or mayor, it's always Democrats that win. We need people. If you belong to a political organization, you should be out active helping them to help the candidate that your community decides to support. Getting them petitions, helping them in the campaign during the course of it, if there is in fact a campaign. And that process is going to be starting at the end of February. Our first date, I believe, Sam, what is it, February 25th, first date of petitions. Yeah, so very shortly, we will be, the candidates will be. Now here's the other problem, getting people to know what judges are. Because most of the time, you want to vote for mayor, by the time we vote for mayor, this June, you will know you'll know what color underwear they wear, every one of the candidates. By the time we vote for even public advocate, well, anybody who knows Dramani, you don't have to worry about too much about what Dramani looks like or wears. But we have public advocate, we have control. Most people know who the mayor is, maybe the public advocate, but that's it. We're also running in Brooklyn, we have district attorney's race this year. Now, it doesn't appear that there's a contest, but we have our district attorney, Eric Gonzalez, by the way, who's now up for re-election this year as well. So all of these people are going to be on those green sheets that you have either helped carry or have seen. Please encourage your friends and neighbors to sign those sheets. More important, only 25% of the entire Democratic registration, which is millions of 1.2 people, 1.2 million people in New York, in Kings County, are registered Democratic voters. So we wind up getting about 250, maybe 300,000 out of that group to vote. 25% of the people in Brooklyn are going to pick the candidate for mayor, the candidate for controller, public advocate, and judges.
Even less.
One last thing I tell you what I
Even
learned
less.
about judges is you're seeing that all of these young ladies are here to run. That's because in the last few years we've elected women. And congratulations, women. You are the largest vote we have in the poll. 60% of the people who vote. It's a very good statistic you see about. And why we have to be respectful. 60% of the vote in Brooklyn is women. And an even better number is the majority of that 60% are black women. So you've got to know, talk about black power, that's it. And women tend to vote for women. So now you got a choice to see which ones are going to be on the ballot when the time comes. But at least you got it easy, because you're going to be able to have to vote for women. There are no guys here anymore. So we look for you to get involved. We look for you to here. You're willing to spend 2 hours on a Sunday night to do this. You have to be willing to help out your district leaders and the various political organizations that go around to help elect these young ladies, whichever 2 they may be. So, as we say in Dancing with the Stars, we're finished.
Oh my God. We are doomed here in Brooklyn. Peace out, peace out.
I gotta tell you,